up and trying to get this studying done. But everything's good.
Cause you're the man, man.
You call it judge school, man. It's a full month of training and getting ready for this. You gotta be certified, so the route I'm going. On weekends and things like that. So what's the breakdown in the format?
We're just gonna chat, man. We're about to start. We live on YouTube now. So they're not gonna see.
Oh, cool.
They're not gonna see you, but they're gonna hear you, my brother.
Perfect. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm living my best life, man. Proud of you, bro.
Yeah. Time's moving.
Yeah, man. But we're live in the studio, about to kick off the show shortly. I got a very special guest tonight. Mr. Hakim Jones. Got to call him Mr. now because he's running for judge. So I got to give respect where respect is due. And then Chris is traveling, so he's out of town. And Devin is running a little late. But we are here in the studio, about to kick off very shortly, so just be patient. And we'll be good to go. You listen to our theme song, man, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show tonight, man. There he is. There he is.
About to kick off very shortly, so just be patient. And we'll be good to go. So you can hear me pretty clearly, right? There he is.
Yeah, for some reason I'm picking up an echo, so give me 1 second.
So you can hear me pretty clearly, right?
Yes.
I'm looking at all my work.
Yeah. Testing. Speak again. Man, we seem to be having all kind of technical difficulty. You got me?
How about now? Yeah, I can hear you. It's a little choppy. Speak again. How about now? Internet over here. I can hear you. It's a little choppy, but I might have to. But I'm pretty clear. I can hear you over here.
For some reason, we're getting an echo.
But I'm pretty clear. I can hear you.
You got me? All right.
For some reason, we're getting an echo.
So you're not echoing, so it's on my end. So I got to adjust my sound. You're not echoing, so it's on my end. So I got to adjust my sound. All right. You good now?
Yeah, I'm good. I can hear you well.
Here we go. For some reason, we get an echo, but we're going to roll, man. You can start by introducing yourself, sir. Tell us all about yourself, man.
Cool. Thank you, Chris, for having me. I am in Montgomery County, Norristown, Montgomery County native. Grew up, born and raised in the area. Spent my career about 20 years in a variety of roles, everything from mental health to education. Workforce development was where I spent the majority of a variety of roles. I'll say I started down in Norristown County, out in Chester, and somehow worked my way back up to Norristown. So just always been in my career. Public service, I'll say I started down in Norristown County, out in Chester, served in those somehow worked my way in our region. And today, just always been recent service. Took a chance to take on another opportunity. I was a city councilman in Norristown for the past 7 years to date, and recently my term ending. Took a chance to this past year. I learned that one of our longtime judicial candidates, one of our longtime district judges was retiring. So where I'm at today is I'm running for the magisterial district judge position here in Norristown, my hometown. And it's just been a great journey. It's been exciting. It's been hard work, and this is where I'm at today.
Oh, I'm glad you're. For some reason, I picked up an echo, so I'm tinkering with it, man. But I want to keep flowing here. So judge though. Judge is a lofty expectation, man. So how did you come up with you wanted to be a judge?
Well, I did my research first, right? You can hear me well?
Yes.
All right, so I did my research first, and I've been in public service. You know, city council is a busy job. It's a public job. You do work with the people of the community. When I thought about next steps of public service, you know, you can only go several directions. You can go to the state level. Maybe you want to be a state rep or a congressperson or a senator. You can go to the county level. Maybe you want to be a commissioner or a row officer. So I felt that I would be best suited staying local and staying in the community that I've already built a strong support network, but also a good track record. So when I learned more about the magisterial district judge position, I realized it was a position, it was a leadership role for someone who's good in the community. It's a nonpartisan and it's a non-biased position as well. So you basically have to be fair, you have to be trustworthy and honest with folks, and but also you have to live in the community in which you're serving. So I think where I'm at in my career, working in workforce development, working in the school system, working on city council, working in mental health, I spent a lot of time just learning and being around people and some of the most vulnerable people. And this role kind of had a really good kind of niche to it. That's what the path that it took me to. So that's kind of how I got to this level.
So for those listening, could you tell a little bit about Norristown? Because I think Norristown is the place that not a lot of people know about.
Cool. So I'm a Norristown native, born and raised. Norristown is a suburb outside of Philly, for those that don't know. Very close-knit community. I look at Norristown, I think of places like Coatesville. I think of places like Cheltenham. I'm meeting people from other parts of the state. I think of Allentown. I think of places like Wilkinsburg outside of Pittsburgh. So it's really a close-knit community. It's not the largest in numbers, but it is a dense community. There's about 10,000 people per square mile, so you are amongst the community. So Norristown is one of those areas, the county seat of Montgomery County, and when you think of county seats, you think of Doylestown, you think of Westchester, you think of Media, you think of the places that are thriving and they're robust, and there's a lot of financial resources, but a lot of times Norristown has been looked at as a place that's less than. But I've always been an advocate and a supporter of Norristown, no matter what people say about it. And I think that's another important thing about being in leadership in your hometown community. You got to be an advocate of your community, no matter what is going on and what people perceive it to be. So in a nutshell, Norristown's a small town. It's a close-knit community, but it's also a very influential community when you look at the region as a whole.
All right, so share a little bit about your platform.
So, platform when you're in politics and you're leading the community, whether you're a city councilman or a school board or even a magisterial district judge, you gotta have goals. You gotta have things that you want to accomplish. And when I look at this position of the magisterial district judge, we all know that courts are not the most comfortable place to be in. And in most cases, it's the district court is the first level of the judicial system. So majority of Pennsylvania residents find themselves in district court before they go anywhere else. So one of my goals is really to be someone at the front line that gives you the sense that you're going to be treated fairly, you're going to be treated respectfully, and you're going to have somebody in the position who can identify with you or with your circumstance. On the other end, for the public, when it comes to safety and when it comes to making sure the community has good standards and has good quality of life, you're also going to want somebody who can make decisions that need to be made. Because there are times where you have to make tough decisions, but it's going to benefit the community. So platform-wise, it's just really to be just who I've always been. I've always been somebody that treats people fairly. I'm always looking to give folks an opportunity, whether they're on the lower end of their situation or whether they're at a high part of life. I just want to be able to give people an opportunity within the law to have a fair shake and to navigate the problems or challenges that they're going through.
Now, as a voter, because you said this is how you are, tell us a little bit more about how you arrive at your decision, because the judge is a tough job.
It is. And for those that don't know, there's two ways to become a district judge. You either have to go through law school and get your law degree. which is one route. The other route is to go through the state certification process. So I am actually going through the state certification process, which is 4 weeks of pretty heavy, vigorous training. You study every law, you study the different levels of laws and crimes and summary offenses. So it's really about knowing what to do when someone comes before you in the courtroom. So, the position really just requires someone that's going to be fair, that's going to apply the law when it's necessary. It's not about opinion. It's not about, your personal feelings a lot of times, but it's really about applying the law, but also making sure that people are being treated fairly, and also your community is being treated fairly. So I guess to answer that question, Chris, it's a tough role, and you are put in positions where you see and know folks that may come before you, but you just want to know that they have the confidence in you and the trust that you're going to make the right decision in the community's behalf.
Well, that was my next question, because being a resident, a lifelong resident of Norristown, sooner or later, somebody is going to come before you. So how are you going to balance that between, Hakim, I know you from around the way, to Judge Jones, and you got to make this decision?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I'm here. I'm in a class with about 30 to 40 other individuals from all over the state, and we all come from different backgrounds. Some from law enforcement, some from community like myself, and some who are law professionals who are coming back to get trained. I think you just have to be authentic. I was a former school district employee. I used to handle really tough issues like truancy and missing school. I spent some time in the courtrooms. I spent some time not only someone enforcing the law in the courtrooms, but even as an advocate. I've been in the courtroom explaining to a judge why this person deserves another opportunity, or why this person has done well, found employment, got into school, have been on the right track, and they deserve another alternative. So I've seen both sides. I've been a part of that. So I think I've come across people that I'm familiar with, that I may know, that I may have experience with. I hope that they trust that I'll do what's right. And there's also situations where, you as a judge, there are areas of conflict of interest, and maybe you coach someone, maybe you've been family with them. There are cases that you can have diverted or changed over to another judge if it gets to that point. But I think that's the role of the district judge. It's you are in the community, and as I meet more and more people throughout the state, they're in towns smaller than Norristown.
Yeah,
and they know everybody, they know each other. But it's really about having the trust with folks, and they know at the end of the day that you're swearing in to do a job, you're swearing in to follow the law, and as we take these courses, as well as I've been experiencing, the law is the law, and there's really no way around it. You won't remain a judge if you don't follow the rules and go by what the law says. But you also have some flexibility, and you have some ability to change lives outside of the law.
All right, $1 million topic that everybody's talking about, gun violence. So I know that's not exactly your only issue you're going to be dealing with, but I'm just curious to get your thoughts on gun violence. I know Philly's thinking about going to year-round school, and some believe that's a solution. I disagree, but I'm anxious to hear your thoughts around, because gun violence is getting out of control in a lot of larger cities.
Yeah, that's a good one, and it's a nationwide challenge that we're dealing with. What we're learning about gun violence is that, guns are in the community, and many folks don't even know where they come from, and they're so accessible. So I think as a district judge, you may see possession of firearm charges, you may see gun cases, but I think once you build relationships, we're on the community side where we work with youth. So if you can build relationships and work on the prevention side, I think it could help deter our students and push them in another way, our young people, from guns. District judges are also operating out of state, out of state component. So although we're not political and we don't dive into political issues, we are aware of laws that we oversee on a day-to-day basis. When we see cases that come into our courtrooms, we can give that insight to the folks who do make the laws on why something needs to change and why something needs to be edited. So I've seen and learned in this course that I'm in now is that some of the laws that are outdated, that are they're not effective and they're not necessarily helping, sometimes they start at the court level where you're seeing a high number of cases. So maybe in legislation, some of the judge rulings and experiences can shape out, but also diversion. So when people and young people are having first-time offenses and they're getting in trouble, there are ways and programs that you can divert these young people to, and it might be the educational, like mandatory program that they attend that really helps them understand what path they're going down. But it's a big issue. It's from federal all the way down to the local level. But I think your district judges will have to work with your local council people, your local state reps, your local senators. And I think if you have good people in all of those positions in your town, then you can make some progress.
So my next question is, and I know you're familiar with the schools. I'm doing some restorative work in Norristown. So what's your opinion, and is this something you would do differently? I don't know if you deal with this population on those youth in school who, not heinous crimes, but they commit some minor level stuff, who right now we're trying to punish them to the hill tilt, to the full tilt. And one thing I understand is it's easier for a kid to do something wrong, even make a mistake and get kicked out, and it's so much harder for them to get back in. They're trying. You just talked about the prime example earlier when you said maybe they have a job now, maybe they're doing the right thing, but it's tough for them to get back in. Do you see, one, do you handle something like that? And two, what are some of the differences or things you may try that's a little different?
Yeah, that's a good question. Good comment. So district judges handle a lot of the lower level summary offenses first. The majority of the cases that come through district court are lower level summary offenses. And in some cases, they may involve youth. Majority of them are for adults, but they are things like, disorderly conduct and, things that can be deemed at the lower level. So district judges have the opportunity to send them to the county level of court. The law enforcement brings it to you. They say, hey, this is the issue we're having. We suspended XYZ for this. This is the charge that they're looking at. Their burden of proof to send it to the county level for trial. So district judges within certain charge ability to if nothing's found, the charges can be dismissed. But at the same time, if something is found, district judges can help with the outcome and the recommendation. So I just think the relationship aspect is important. District court handles truancy. And my background, I also have 5 years of experience working in the Norristown public schools in truancy. And I spent 5 years in the courtroom, and a lot of issues around truancy in home and school usually determine some of the challenges people have legally and criminally down the line. So I'm excited to have that experience and to kind of already know what some intervention things can be put into place. So the systems they're all working together, but there are challenges from as far as what we can do. But I think the relationships amongst us, when you have a district judge and you have a school district or superintendent, I think you can relay information that's legitimate to try to explain why things need to change, or why ordinances need to change, or even why code of conduct might need to change.
All right, well, my son Devin rolled up in here, so you see him.
Yeah, how you doing, Mr. Jones? I came halfway through the conversation.
You talked about gun violence and
really? Wow. So I overheard you saying you used to work in the Norristown School District, correct?
Yes.
So how was that? I went to Cheltenham, so I was always curious how like other school systems worked and what goes on there.
So Good question. I spoke to Chris. I said I take a lot of pride growing up in the Norristown area school district, and Pennsylvania has over 500-600 schools districts out there, and even the district court. There's over 500 district court judges. I would be one of 3 in Norristown. So growing up in a community like Norristown, growing up in a Sheltonham or Coatesville or other places that have a nice diverse. Even economically, we don't have some of the benefits and luxuries that some of our other neighbors have. I think it makes you resilient. It gives you the diversity that others don't have. And I tell people to this day that I wouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't grow up in this type of place like Norristown is, and many of us that grew up in districts that have great things but also struggle. I think it's a blessing in disguise. So I think that will prepare me for this role, working in the schools, because now what we know is that there's school resource officers in schools. So some of the issues that happen in schools end up in district court. So having that relationship with law enforcement, being a former city councilman, working with the police department, I think it's a big help than when you're just foreign and unfamiliar with those issues. So to answer your question, I'm proud to be from a district that isn't cookie cutter, that has everything in place, that has the best of the best. So I think we're going to have our challenges ahead of us, but it's good to know that I have that personal background, that I know who's going to come before me, whether it be their family, the youth, or even people from the community.
Well, let's speak a little bit about the demographics in Norristown, because that's totally different. That is, I think most people don't understand the diversity that is within Norristown and the demographics. So when you live somewhere is one thing, but when you're serving the people, it's a whole nother ballgame, because you have to kind of find another way to even when you are fair, somebody's gonna say you're biased.
True.
Because of the demographics. That's just how so do you foresee yourself in those situations and how you handle it? Because you have a very heavy Hispanic population in Norristown.
Yeah, that's a good point, because even campaigning, when you realize you're running for a position, in order to obtain these public positions, the community has to vote for you and put you in there. So you want to become a CEO or you want to be a director of a company, you got to go through series of interviews and a series of networking. But when it comes to public service, the residents have to put you in there. And for those that don't know, Norristown traditionally, me growing up in Norristown was a very diverse, I call it like a 30-30-30 community. It was Black, it was white, it was Latino, and it was a little bit of everyone else in between. Demographics have shifted over the years, and the district is about 40 to 45% Latino now. We did experience what some folks would consider white flight. We consider white flight when folks leave the community and move to other areas. So we are what you would call a majority minority community. And many of the issues that will come to district court, they're going to require a translator. They're going to require a relationship with, not just my community being a Black man, but it's going to require relationships with the Latino community. It's going to require relationships with the immigrant community, and not just Latino. There's immigrants from all over the world that come to our community. So I think again, having that experience of being here, working in the different systems, you have the ability to bring a perspective and work with people when it comes to solving problems. So yeah, Chris, it's going to be a challenge. Some communities don't have to accommodate as much, but a place like Norristown, we do have to make sure that all residents are accommodated.
Well, I've seen the shift, because I know, I guess about 10 years ago time fly, when I was doing fatherhood out there, it was a small contingent of Russians, because I had a lot of them in my class, and I would always wonder, like, how did you get to Norristown? Did you just put a pen on the map and say, I'm going to Norristown? Because Norristown is not exactly world known. Mm-hmm. So I just always been curious. And now that I'm in the school, and to your point, I do see a few kids who don't speak English. who struggled.
Yeah.
And not more than a few who, especially in one of the schools, is a little lopsided. But so I'm always curious about how that turns into public service. But so let's talk politics for a little bit, man. I know you hear this. Now you're about to get into politics a little deeper, at the judge level, and with everything going on with Trump, with everything going on with your, unfortunately, your party affiliation is how you identify now.
A little bit.
Yeah, I see the circle. So talking politics, how do you view what's happening in politics right now? How do you separate yourself from that?
Yeah. So for being someone who's been heavily involved in politics the past 10 to 15 years, you can hear me, right? Because I'm breaking up a little bit.
Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, I got you nice and clear.
Yep. So another good thing about the magisterial district judge role is that it's not a political position, and you have to refrain from politics. I resigned from Norristown City Council. I resigned from the work that I was doing with the Democratic Committee as well, because it's one of those roles where everybody comes before you. It doesn't matter political affiliation. If you're dealing with landlord-tenant cases, or you're dealing with civil matters, or you're dealing with truancy, or even criminal cases, it's really a political thing is out the window. So I think it does allow you to look at the big picture overall, and that also makes you look at different cultures, different ways of life. And again, Norristown 20 years ago, when I was in high school, is a different Norristown than today. Now that my children are going into kindergarten and pre-K. So the Norristown today is going to take some adjustment for me and many others who grew up here. But I guess that's anything to remove yourself from partisan politics, and it really is about making the right decision by law. And I think that's another reason why I'm excited about this role. Doesn't put me in a position where I have to pin one party against the other, or one person against the other, or one ideal. So if that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay, good question.
Yeah, and that's really awesome that you're very energetic, and you could tell the passion that you really have for this upcoming role. I don't know if my dad ever asked this. I might have missed this part before I came in, but what inspired you to get into politics, and then what also inspired you to run for judge?
Cool, good question. So like your dad, I coached Little League football. I've been involved with high school football. I've worked in the school system. I spent some time in mental health, working at the Norristown State Hospital. So I would say in my 20-year career out of college, all of my roles have been serving people. Workforce development is another big thing workforce development never existed. No one said they wanted to be a workforce development professional when they grew up. But there came a time where society said that you need someone who can help someone find jobs and create a resume and teach them how to interview. So I think the different roles and experiences that I had, during my youth and even now as an adult and now as a parent, I think they kind of lined up to bring me to this level. And again, the word judge is tough because you're looked at as someone that has to judge somebody, right? And and the goal for myself and I'm sure anyone else who wants to take this role on is that they're fair and that they treat people right and they follow the rules. At the end of the day, even if I don't like the rule in some cases, I gotta follow it. I may not like the law that was passed in 1998 for the type of offense that may come across, but according to the law, I have to follow it. But like I mentioned to Chris earlier, there are certain laws and certain things that come across the court so often that are not effective or they're not helping folks judge and change the process. We've had judges before me that have worked really hard for pretrial services. So pretrial services give people an opportunity to really give them the resources on the front end of getting into some type of trouble where they didn't exist before. So There's always an opportunity to build on to, our system is old. It's been around for several hundred years, but it gives us the opportunity, especially when you're in touch, when you've seen both sides, it gives you the opportunity to help change.
Right. I want to apologize for the bad connection. I don't know. I know someone's on our end because we got this massive Canadian smoke.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on a Wi-Fi connection.
But we got this massive Canadian smoke too, man. So even when I was in the office today, my Wi-Fi was acting kind of funny. But yeah, we got a brother Derek on that says you're fully equipped. Wholeheartedly agree, man. He says we need more brothers as judges. I agree.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
I think we've known each other about 10 years now, or maybe longer. So you are probably one of the most even Steven people I've ever met. You always seem to stay, calm. And even when stuff is going on, you always seem to have this same demeanor. How did you get that? I mean, because that's what we key, which we talked about earlier. To be in the judge, you got to have that.
Yeah, man, that's a good question, but I can dig deep now and think about that because can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
I'm a little broken up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Can you hear me, or is it still breaking up?
No, we got you. Far away, man.
It sounds like it's the connection.
Yeah, the connection is good.
I really wanted to hear what you had to say.
Yeah.
How about now, Chris?
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. So I will say, man, who our parents and who bring us up has a lot to do with that. I grew up, my mother was she's a retired Air Force veteran, and she worked at the Norristown State Hospital for many years. My late father is an Overbrook High School, Philadelphia West Philly guy, and he moved to Norristown, and he was a utility. He was a hardworking utility, worked for the Norristown State Hospital, worked for Regina Nursing Home, just a blue collar guy. So I attribute that to just being blessed with two hardworking, blue collar, grounded parents that when you go through adversity and when you have a lot of problems and challenges, if you don't have no one to turn to, I think that's where a lot of our young people get into trouble. But I've been blessed to have that in my corner. And again, Norristown is a small community as well. So just growing up around people who believe in you and they want to see you do well, and they know you're not perfect, and they want to advocate for you. I saw that on election day. That was one of the most amazing things to ever see people on election day come around. So I think it's just the community and the village that we always talk about, the village that comes out for you. And I think that's what has helped me stay grounded, helped me stay level, but really just having a good social network around me, friends, family, coaches, community, I think all of the above. And even work, I've been in Philadelphia with a lot of heavy hitters and good people like yourself and Hakim Jones and guys that do good work. So I think that makes a big difference of how you can handle yourself when adversity comes.
All right. Well, we can't have this show without mentioning Ted Josie because he's never gonna let me forget that. So I gotta make sure I mention Ted's name.
Yes. So,
yeah. But
I'm glad you said that. The youth. Can I say something on that real quick? So the youth empowerment program of Montgomery County is equivalent to like Philly Works. So when it comes to youth employment, youth jobs, and youth training, those programs have done wonders for young people and their families. And Ted Josie, yourself, myself, many others have been able to be a part of those organizations to help change lives. And I think that's another avenue when I see young people voting for me in their 20s that I once worked with when they were, 15, 16 years old. It was just a full circle moment that I saw, running for office. So the public programs that some folks frown upon and some people look at our public programs as things that aren't helpful, I think when they're done right and they have the right people involved with them, they change lives.
Well, I mean, Ted was. He's been my mentor, man, and we would talked a lot back in those days. But it's funny you should say that, because I still run into kids who came through those programs, who remember and were touched by those programs.
That's awesome.
And this is years later. You talk about they're grown-ups with kids now. So that's how impactful, and that came from under his tree, because he mentored guys like you and I, and he speaks very highly of you, which is Ted thing. And I also know Ted does not associate himself with anybody who doesn't meet the standard. So I do want to take a shout out to applaud to him. But one thing I want to ask you is, what was it like? You ran for city council, so you get the political thing. One day you wake up and says, man, I'm gonna do this judge thing. Primaries come along. What was that like? Because that's a big step, from city council to judge. I mean, even the term sounds a lot serious. So what was that like? I mean, what was some of the things? And and you have a wife, a lovely wife. How was that process with her? Like, I want to be a judge, babe.
Listen, it's triumph, it's stress, it's anxiety, it's sleep deprivation. It's a little bit of everything. Many people don't know, but I played Division I football. I walked on West Virginia University's football team in 2002, and I was an undersized running back. I wasn't the best athlete in the world, but getting on that team and experiencing that was one of the most challenging, hardest physical, mental things I've ever experienced. Big up to Rich Rodriguez, who was one of the best coaches I've ever known to have. So I think running in politics is one of the most challenging things you can do. And my wife and my children and my mom and the people around me, like, it wouldn't have happened without them, because you have to put yourself, first in it. And it sounds arrogant, but it becomes a rat race. And without their support, without their willingness, and without their ability to tolerate you, I think none of us are going to make it where we're at. So that's mentally, that's financially, that's just covering for you when different things happen. I think it was a blessing just having that foundation around me, and even some community residents that I grew up with here in Norristown who out of the blue just said, I want to help. Let me know how I can help. But it's never easy. The more people I talk to in this judicial training who are from other parts of the state, like, we all identify because we went through the same thing, and we come from different backgrounds, different parties, different primary processes, and we all are high-fiving each other because we made it through this process. But no, it's not easy. But like anything in life, again, any type of success or leadership or position or scholarship, anything you want to go after that means something, is not going to come easy. You're going to have to deal with some adversity and some challenges. So I've learned that through the process.
Now, could we dive a little deeper into, the campaign process? I'm just always curious to, some trials and tribulations you may face. And then we also did have another question here from a listener, Derek Dandridge. He asked, are you a criminal court judge?
Okay. Do you want me to take the criminal court judge first, or you want me
to that's the easy one first.
So magistrate or district judges are not criminal court judges. What we do is we, a law enforcement officer or someone bringing the charges to the local level, bring it before us. We look at the charges, we look at the evidence and what the officer is bringing us, and we decide if it's something that is legitimate to go up to a higher level. So if it's something that they prove, the evidence is worthy, we send it up to the Court of Common Pleas, which is the higher level judge. If the charges don't seem credible or they don't seem they have enough substance, we do have the ability to withdraw the charges or downgrade them. So I'm not a criminal court judge, but we are the first line where it's a really important position because we have to really determine on whether something has substance or not. So I hope that answers the question. And the second question, you asked one more time. That's what was that?
I just asked more so to dive a little deeper about the whole campaign process and some trials and tribulations you may have faced.
Yeah, campaigning. I mean, it's like you watch television, you see ads, you see fundraisers, you get emails. If you're in the political circle, it's hard work. It is hard work. You have to be humble. You have to be vulnerable. I've never really had to ask people for support and resources. Just the first month alone, we started on Valentine's Day. We had to scale the neighborhood and get residents to basically sign off and give us permission to say that we're going to run for this. And not only did we have to do it on the Democratic side, we have to do it on the Republican side. So, just imagine, you run into a resident who's been there for 30 years and they're not happy with what they've been seeing, or you run into a resident who you've done great things for and helped, and they can't wait to sign your petition. So I think the process just requires you to one, be humble, to really, I mean, at the end of the day, you need them. You need the community. You need the residents to give you the approval. And then when it comes to election day, you spend the 3 to 4 months straight just working to convince them that you're the right choice. So you're kind of vying for a job. They're your bosses. No matter what's going on in their life, they can change their mind any given day. So as a candidate, how conduct yourself. Maybe you upset someone. Maybe you say something or post something. Anything. They can lose you a vote or can get you 10. So I think the political process is really challenging, and there's also relationships. Obviously, because you're not the only one running, right?
Yeah.
I'm running for this itty bitty district judge seat, but you got folks over here running for commissioner. You got these folks running for city council. You got these 5 people running for school board. You really have to build these relationships and really, it can be a lot. But I think at the end of the day, is you surround yourself with a stable core of people that have your best interests. And when you run into problems and challenges, that's who's going to help you navigate that. But it's not for the weak. But also, I think young people would excel in it if they really looked into it and got more mentoring around it. I think people would enjoy it because it is competitive. But at the end of the day, you're going to be making the decisions for the towns that you live in.
Well, I mean, I think I know when I ran for school board, which is the lower level, what it goes to, what you go through.
One of the toughest seats. School board is one of the toughest. It is one of the toughest seats.
Yeah, but you become, your life is public now. People approach you at a supermarket. People can't wait to just see you do something. It's crazy. So I can only imagine what it's like being a judge. So without being too transparent, what was that like when you went to your wife and said, "Hey, baby, I always had these 2 tough jobs, and now I want to step it up a notch. I want to be a judge now."
Yeah. Well, I'm sure every elected official has to consider their family first, and it's a ride that everybody takes. Your wife takes it, your children take it. If your kids are in school, mine are young, and pre-kindergarten, but some are in high school, middle school, so they all take the ride with you. And all I could say is that it does take it takes some prayer. It takes having some good spiritual backing, some good people around you, and really you grow as a person. You grow spiritually. You grow, obviously you grow mentally. But it's something that what you're signing up for. Also, we see it's a public world, and whether you're a CEO for a large organization or a state representative, or you still have a level of eyes and things that are on you, and you have an expectation. So it's not easy. Sometimes you think about just being a simple person and get up, go to work, come home, and sit on the couch all night. But God puts you in different positions for a reason.
It's not who you are. It's not who you are anyway. Go ahead. Your question, Devin.
So, being that you're from the area, I'm just curious, has anyone ever, stopped you on the street, or maybe you had dinner, someone came up to you about a decision you may have made on the job and
Yeah, all the time. So, and it comes with the territory. You go to church on a Sunday, with your family, you just enjoy. we all have needs and we all have issues that we're going through. One thing I tip my hat off is to elected officials who are accessible, because you have some elected officials where you won't see them until it's time for a vote, and you won't see them unless
Yeah.
Norristown is a small place, just like many other towns. You can go there. You go to local 7-Eleven, and you see people. And I think, I think it comes with the territory, but how you treat those interactions is what makes a difference. And I've had times where I will laugh and joke with people, say, "Look, not right now, not today." And then there's folks that they'll tell you their story, like what they're trying, what they're going through, and they'll say, "I'm sorry, I know you're here with your family," and then they'll walk away, and they're like, "Oh, well, anyway, how about this? I got another issue." That's another thing about being an elected official. You have to be, you gotta have tolerance. You gotta be able to handle it. One thing we have the benefits of is email, social media, and things. So the inbox can be blowing up. The social media can be going on, so you can always get back to folks. You can always apologize to people when you're not getting back to them in enough time. But I think it just comes with the territory. And I think we sign up for it. I say we because there's a lot of elected officials out there. We don't always know what it's going to look like, but when we get there, I think our careers and our paths have prepared us for it. Our families can be frustrated with it sometimes, but they also sign up for it too. And worst comes to worst, most elected official terms, they range from 2 years to 4 years to 6 years. District judges a 6-year term. Common pleas judge is a 10-year term. City council is a 4-year term. School board is a 4-year term. State rep is a 2-year term. So at the end of the day, if life happens and you have to, for whatever reason, exit, the people can vote someone else in for you, or you can make that decision.
So you're running for judge. So are there any, because you mentioned this word expectations several times. So do you have any expectations of some things you may want to accomplish, during that time frame, or is it kind of wait and see till you get in there, get a feel for it, and then set those expectations?
Yeah, I do. And come from a background of, work with the most vulnerable, career and training jobs, school district. I've worked in youth sports, youth athletics. I do want to see, a lot of us that find ourselves in court for reasons that sometimes aren't necessary. If we have the right resources, or if we have the right mindset, or we have the motivation, then a lot of times, it could be your first and last time. No one's perfect, and we all go through our challenges. But I think we're in a position to redirect people's behaviors, way of thinking, and even their resources sometimes. So my goal, I live here, I'm raising my family here, continue to do some positive work. On the criminal side, that can be challenging because criminal law is criminal law, and they come with certain rules, certain penalties. But I think also relationships matter too, when it comes to being in a small community like Norristown.
Mm-hmm.
So just improving the overall landscape of the community. Norristown is changing, it's evolving, it's going through development that's unknown, it's going through some to guide people in the right direction so that they feel included and that they feel like they can still win in life.
Yeah, I'm just curious for what's, I guess, the end game or the end goal. Do you see yourself, ever maybe get into the presidential standpoint? Do you see yourself maybe running for governor, those type of political seats or that political realm?
Yeah, that's a good question, because some people look at these roles as a stepping stone, and what I'll say is I like the fact that it's a local elected official position. I like that it's in my backyard where I live and where I'm comfortable. So not necessarily, I don't see myself going after a higher level of office. These terms, I spent 8 years on city council, and before I knew it, my 30s were gone. Like my 30s were done. Like I started early, and I spent my years in my 30s on city council. So the same with a district judge, it's a 6-year term, and you can go as long as you want. Our judge that's retiring now, she did 3 terms, 18 years. There's another judge that did 30 years or so. So I don't know. I think I'll take it, term by term, and I'll continue to help people. So you just don't know where your path takes you. Prior to this, I started a master's in business at Eastern University. I started an MBA program, and I do plan, to go back and finish that degree too. So who knows where it's going to take me.
Well, I want to applaud you, man, because you've been doing a lot of good work in Norristown for a long time. I started hearing your name when I first got out to Norristown, through Ted Josie and through various people. So it was an honor when we finally met. So to see you doing this now, it's like, wow, I kind of had a chance to see the progression. And for kids, who look like us, this is huge. This is huge, man, because you mentioned something earlier about them just not being aware of the opportunities, and especially now the climate that we're in, because I would like you to speak to this for a little bit. The climate that we're in, everybody's anti-law, anti-police, everybody's corrupt now. So for you to be doing it in this climate is powerful to me, in my humble opinion. So I don't know if you want to speak to that, because you're a role model. You always have been, but now even more so.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. And what I mentioned, like while I take the certification and I'm around other folks, many folks that I've come across are in law enforcement, and the district judge position is a mix. And you can be a lawyer by trade, or you can go through the state process. But as I learned, Montgomery County is broken down between, there's about 12 who are certified through the state process, and there's 19 that are lawyers by trade. Of those 12, majority of them come from law enforcement backgrounds. So what I'm starting to see in the district judge position, even with past judges like Judge Greg Scott and right now Denise Ash in Norristown, you're seeing more community-centric people who are going after this certification to become district judges, because they have the life experience, they have the grassroots and the people experience. So I think that also puts us in a unique position. And I think there is a clash between law enforcement and residents at times. But as you know, we've done work on both sides, and you can bridge that gap. You can bridge the gap, and you can bring positive results out of it. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. It's a benefit to be in my hometown too, because there's the relationships that matter too. But yeah, that's.
I was just curious. What is your message to someone that may be looking to get into the political space, or they're growing up and they're hearing this, and they may get inspired by some of the things you're saying?
Yep. So I went to school for public relations journalism, right? And I didn't know where my career would take me, but one thing I knew was, okay, I could write, I could speak, and I know what's going on in society. That's one thing journalism teaches you. But public service is where it begins. Volunteering at your local, your Carver centers and your PAL center, your Boys and Girls Clubs, working as a youth coach or a youth sports person. That's when you really get that's how you really understand the issues that everyday people are going through when you hold those type of roles. One, you're not getting paid for it. Two, you're doing it because you love it. And three, it's just a passion. So I will say, that's one side of it. But two, I did have to learn about the process. You can't just say I'm running for office and I'm going to win. You need to know, what the political dynamics are in your community, and you got to know who's in the seat, and you got to know, who your potential competition can be. You got to learn, how to raise money and how to play the political game. So I think anybody that's interested in this, it really just comes down to like it's watching it, experiencing it. You know, I can watch the NBA playoff from game 1 to game 7 and understand how that goes. But if I want to learn politics, I'm gonna try to watch something else and see how it works, or even connect with people who can invite you to meetings. You know, there's tons of meetings that take place that teach you about the political process, that get you involved. And really, it's not necessarily about your party. It's just about, you know, getting involved. So really, it's just putting yourself in a position and being open. And I'll touch on another thing. So turnout is not great either. If you look at the last election, there was about a 20 to 25% turnout in Norristown. There was about a 25 to 30% turnout in Philadelphia, and everywhere else. Like, I don't just blame, you know, but the communities that get to the polls and they vote, they're the communities that really value the power of their vote and what comes from it. You know, and elected officials and people in charge and people who control the finances and the money, they are going to take you serious if you're getting up and going to that poll twice a year, and not just when the president's on the ballot, but when, you know, school board, council. So voting is important too, but teaching people why and what issues are tied to voting makes a difference.
Yeah, so we're wrapping up here, but I got to get you in the studio, man, so we can get a better interview. And I got tons of more questions, man, and maybe I can get Will to come in here with you. You know, I think that would be great, man. I had a discussion about, you know, because I love your platform, I love your heart for, I'm not gonna say politics, but for the people. And I think what people don't understand is the sacrifice and the selflessness that comes along when you run for office, man. Like, not just the part when people approach you when you're out, but, you know, that stuff you deal with that you got to take home.
Yeah.
You know, some of the family things you miss because you got a meeting that you have to be at that you can't get away from. You talked about the time you served on city council. I know how many times we tried to connect. It was like one of us had a meeting. It was like, hey. So I think people don't understand that. So for me, I personally want to say thank you and applaud for you. We don't live in Norristown, but anything we can do to support you, bro. You know, because, you know, that's probably 80% of my work is in Norristown, because, you know, I'm in all 4 schools now. So I'm out there a lot. So,
yeah. And Chris, I'm thankful for you because, you know, when you're young professional and you're up and coming, I tell people, you got to have good mentors, you got to have good people around you that you have to see yourself, you know, following their footsteps. You know, I watch you raise your boys, raise your family. I watch you, the work you do, and even the things that we've partnered on that many people might not realize. You know, it makes a difference. If you don't have people around you that can show you the way, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. You need good mentors and good examples to follow. You've been that. So thank you for having me, for being that.
Well, hopefully I get you at Cabrini this year, so you can bring that whole, you know, so you can talk to him in person. But we're down to our last 2 minutes, man. Bro, I appreciate you. Whatever you need, just let me know. When you get back, let me know. We'll get you in the studio. You know, we can dig a little deeper, man. We might need a little. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll come to you. Maybe we'll bring the show to you.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Maybe we'll bring the show to Norristown, man. You know, and you know, maybe I can get Thaddeus. We can grab a few people, man. Just have, because I love your message. I think your message goes beyond Norristown. You know, and I think people need to hear that, especially people who've been following the politics and the news and all the corruption and Clarence Thomas and all the crazy stuff going on. You know, because a lot of people are like fed up with the whole system. So it's refreshing to hear somebody with fresh ideas, not beholden to somebody, man, that's a strong family man that looks like me, you know, but has his own identity. So, yo, bro, we appreciate you, man. And again, if there's anything that we can do for you, let us know. All right.
Thank y'all, man. Appreciate you.
So hit me up when you get back in town, man. All right.
Sure will. For y'all evening, feel free to give me this opportunity.
Talk to you later, bro. Be safe, man.
Have a good one. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I was like, people are driving crazy out there.